Introduce myself. I'm Dr. Angel. I'm the person behind the Growing Brain PH. It's really an advocacy for supporting parents, supporting your journey in helping your children's growth and development. The Q&A sessions are actually a sponsored activity by a parent who had wanted to create learning sessions for parents. So if you'll notice, we have it every second Thursday of every month. So yun nga lang, tumapat siya. So only week this week. But we still have our special guest. So let me introduce to you Dr. Cristal Laquindanum-Tan. Dr. Tal and I are very good friends from med school, from college pa nga pala. But more importantly, she's a very well-known pediatrician in social media. You've probably seen her educational posts and information that she shares. She's with TMC clinics in Quezon City and Taguig areas. So she posts under Millennial Pedia. We'll post about that also. So if you'd like to follow and read the information there, she shares child health information. And more importantly, very proud of her, recently self-published a book that's entitled Malakas Ako, Matapang Ako, and it's about vaccination and pedia checkups. So magpa-plug, she does have a new book available. It's a nice social story for sharing about doing vaccinations and checkups nga, especially for our kids, because hindi naman easy to go to the hospital and get these shots, no, Doc Tal. So welcome, Doc Tal. Thank you for joining us. I know it's a holiday. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting me, Dr. Angel. So it's really been a privilege to be invited by the Growing Brain. Yan. So hopefully, even if we have like a small number of people who will be coming in today, this is a recorded session naman. And I hope na masagot din yung mga questions ng parents.
Yeah. And so that's why nagpa-advanced questions na lang ako, and hopefully we can tackle some of them. Actually, madami nga yung questions. So I tried to group them na lang. So let's get started, if you don't mind. The first question is actually related to vaccines, or a few questions. So the first one is, are combination vaccines safe? So I was assuming they might be talking about the 5-in-1, the 6-in-1 types of vaccines. Because then the next question was, is there an option to take these vaccines one at a time?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, that's a good question. I was thinking also when I first read the question, the combo vaccine ba is, ang ibig ba niya sabihin is the one that is already manufactured na combination na siya. So for those who are not familiar with it, so we have certain vaccines that are already formulated or manufactured na together na sila. For example, we have the MMR, which is just one vaccine that is designed to be protected for three diseases. So that's mumps, measles, and rubella. Okay, so yung mga 5-in-1, 6-in-1, that also means kaya siya 5 or 6 or 4-in-1 kasi it's protected for 4 or 5 or 6 diseases. Okay, so is it safe? Yes, it's very safe. Most of these vaccines have been in the market for a very long time already. That's how the development of any vaccine is done. So syempre unang gagawin is to profile if the vaccine is safe. Okay, and then if it's effective, etc. So it is safe. Can you take it separately? For some vaccines, you can. For example, for 6-in-1, it's different actually. For those vaccines na taken in the health center and in the private pediatrician, yung penta ng health center is different from the 5-in-1 or penta ng private pedia. So for example, in the health center, their penta has the hepatitis B, the Haemophilus influenza B, the DPT, which is the diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus. Okay, so but for a private pediatrician, wala yung Hepa B, nakahiwalay siya or together siya with the 6-in-1. Okay, yun yung mga certain intricacies. So for example, yung Hepa B, meron siya talaga na separate na Hepa B lang. But for some combination, kasama yung Hepa B. For example, 6-in-1 nga, and yung 5-in-1 ng sa health center, that's already included, the Hepa B. Is it safe to nasihiwalay sila or together? Yes, it's also safe. It can be taken together as well. another vaccine na pwedeng hiwalay and pwedeng magkasama rin would be the MMR and the varicella. So there's one brand na magkasama yung MMR plus the varicella. And then there are certain cases that you can separate them also. So taken separately. There's also another thing na baka yun yung ibig niya sabihin na combination vaccine, meaning you give two vaccines na magkasabay. So you combine them, for example, flu and MMR. Can you combine them? Is it safe? Maybe that's also where the participant was coming from. So yes, there are certain vaccines that you can take simultaneously. There are also certain vaccines that you have to have an interval of 4 weeks. Some vaccines, kahit walang interval na 4 weeks, pwedeng mga 2 weeks, but for some pediatricians and for some doctors, mas comfortable sila if there are around 3 to 4 weeks na interval. There are also certain vaccines na hindi talaga pwedeng pagsabayin. So for example, we have the meningococcal vaccine, specifically yung brand na Menactra, and then we have the PCV or the pneumococcal vaccine. Hindi siya pwedeng pagsabayan ng tusok, okay? Kahit magkaibang siyang site, because one vaccine would lessen the efficacy of the other. So yung mga intricacies na yun, wag nyo nang alalahanin sa mga parents natin. That would be the job of your doctor or for the healthcare worker in the health center to figure out if pwede siyang, which vaccines yung magkakasabay. So that's a very long answer for a very interesting first question. So
Yeah.
hopefully we answered it well.
Yeah. And I think that just highlights the importance of the vaccines and why we have the pediatricians or the health centers deliver nga. Kasi marami siya eh. Marami tayong required, or not naman required, but recommended na vaccines. And I think very related to this other question about receiving the vaccines in the health center. So, ay, yung tanong, kumpleto ba yung nakukuha nila sa health center, or do they need to go to the private clinic, especially since you mentioned magkaiba nga pa yung combination of the vaccines?
Okay, yes, that's a very practical question also. Is it complete? There's like a certain term in the government that we use, a fully immunized child. Because a fully immunized child has this certain set of vaccines that is usually available. Everything is available in the health center. But there are other recommended vaccines na kahit nakasulat dun sa health center card nyo na recommended siya to be taken with your private pediatrician. So nakalist siya sa likod eh. Which vaccines yung hindi available sa health center but are still very much recommended to be taken. For example, flu vaccines na yearly binibigay. For some health centers, good na nabibigay siya. For some health centers, wala. Okay? But yung term ng government na fully immunized child, yun yung nakalagay dun sa may certain list na also procured or bought by the government, kaya binibigay siya ng libre din sa ating mga parents. So in my practice, of course, since syempre alam naman natin medyo magastos din ng vaccines, 'di ba? So I allow them, of course, they can get all their vaccines if they want sa health center. Usually mga lang yan, first 9 months, tapos another one at 1 year old. And then after kasi nun, wala na. Ang hindi na i-explain masyado was the usually the MMR and the varicella are given at 1 year old. That's hanggang dun lang yung fully immunized child, the definition ng government. But there is actually a booster shot na recommended, very much recommended for your MMR and your chickenpox or your varicella. Usually taken at 4 to 6 years old or even earlier. So minsan pag tatanungin mo, ma'am, kumpleto na po ba ng bakuna? Sasabihin ng ma'am, yes, kumpleto na po kasi sa health center. And then you probe further na kapag second dose ba, ng ganyan, hindi na nila nabibigay kasi nga they're not also aware. Okay, so better po, yes, that's good that all the recommended vaccines from the health center nabibigay siya, but better also to have at least one checkup with your pediatricians just to check if pwede pang mabigay yung mga ibang bakuna na hindi na ibibigay sa health center. So yun, may list naman siya sa bakuna card ng health center, which means yung pwedeng bigay na.
think na
Yeah.
disconnect si Doc Tal for a while, but from what I take, no, it's important to review the context of the bakuna card, especially from health center. Or even for private practice, I assume the baby books would have yung list po natin ng mga vaccines. And then we can always tap in with our pediatrician kahit a couple of visits to check up na tama po yung natanggap natin, tamang oras na bigay din ng mga vaccines natin.
Yes.
Yeah. We have hot topics, syempre, because we're still in the pandemic. There is a question asking if you would advise giving the COVID vaccine if the less than 5-year-old becomes available. Do you have an answer for that?
Yes, tama. Controversial, no? Very controversial also. So currently we have the Pfizer and the Moderna available for children 5 years old and up. But I think in the Philippines it's just Pfizer for 5 years old and up. For those na less than, bakit nga ba? Baka kasi yung iba medyo natakot na hala, baka hindi pala safe kasi hindi siya pwedeng ibigay for 6 months to up to 5 years old. Actually, that's not the case. No? So it is already proven that the vaccine is safe even for 6 months to 5 years old. Bakit siya stop? Okay, so medyo na-delay yung pagbibigay even in the US for 6 months to 5 years old because they see the current data shows yung efficacy, yung kumbaga yung bisa ng bakuna na safe for 6 months to 5 years old, hindi pa ganun kataas. It's not the value that they expect ng vaccine efficacy for us to parang give it to most 6 months to 5 years old. Okay, so the question is not about safety, but I think they're asking or they're researching more for better numbers, volume of data to say na okay yung efficacy for 6 months to 5 years old. So if it is, actually good thing yon na medyo na-delay kasi they're really trying to play it. They want it to be effective for 6 months to 5 years old, no? At pag dumating yung time na sabihin nila na yes, we can give it, then yes, I would say that since we're still in a pandemic and we don't know if may lalabas pa pong bagong variant, sana wala na. But if lumabas siya, I would recommend na the COVID vaccine to be given.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I have a personal question. What made you decide to write about vaccines?
Yeah, well, that is mostly what I do in the clinics, no, to give vaccines. And syempre, I mean, both Dr. Angel and I love playing with kids, no. So it's not work for us anymore if our work revolves around taking care of children. Syempre, mga bata kapag nasa parang laging natatakot, diba? Parang nagkakaroon ng trauma, nasa labas pa lang sila. And I really wanted to make the vaccine experience or in general, pedia checkup an experience na masaya naman for the kid. And for most of my patients, ganun din naman nangyari. Na they enjoy playing with the toys, they enjoy the books in the clinic, and I want that experience to more families. I wrote a book about vaccination and pedia checkup. So it has to be like a more engaging experience for children.
And I like that. So I think the book really targets our very young children. So it makes it a more positive experience. And I don't know if you've experienced having patients or parents say, Doc, tusukan mo na para bumait. So sometimes we become the bad guy pa. Natakot sila. And sometimes it makes it harder for our children, right? When that's the experience they have for the vaccine. When in fact, when they do get shots, there is a small amount of pain. And so to build up the fear around it makes it harder. So I think it's nice that there's a book to at least social stories wise helps prepare them. So thank you for doing that. Yan ang aking plug. That's why I really love that there's a book like that to discuss it.